Philadelphia Eagles at the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. We're here to break down the props and, more importantly, the injuries going on with this game. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop master, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. And, guys, this is going to be a very different show. We have very limited props. We don't know what's going on with the quarterbacks. It does appear like Jalen Hurts is going to play, but looks like Geno Smith is a true game-time decision. And I think this is a really, really good time to discuss, we don't have to play every single game. So Andrew and I were talking before, and Andrew, I think you and I agreed we're not probably going to have client plays because there's no reason to force anything. So it's Monday Night Football, and we're just going to show some patience, and we'll talk the game out here. So Andrew, talk a little bit about just like why are we not going to play anything in this game, and just sometimes the best way to make money is to not lose it, right?
I've always liked that saying, Andy, and you do a good job of reminding us all about that. And the thing is that when you've got one injury, it correlates all throughout the other props, right? It impacts everything else. So if you're waiting for information, or if you don't know about a certain guy and how they're doing, you don't know if they're gonna. Some quarterbacks like going to certain receivers better. Maybe they'll hand the ball off more if you have a certain guy in there, and just different situations like that. And in general, there's so many games this week that, no buys this weekend moving forward. So many opportunities, so many options for betting that there's no need to look at it. And, but I was talking before the game about, or before we started this show about Swift, right? And looking at the running game for the Eagles, because the fact of the matter is, if you're looking at anytime touchdown scorer props, as I was saying with Dan before the show, you can't really look at anytime touchdown scores with any running backs because Hurts will just take them. I mean, fantasy owners that have, Swift, or if anybody out there had Gainwell, you're pulling your hair out because of how many, 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard touchdowns you saw with Jalen Hurts. But I'm actually interested looking at Swift for his yards. Seahawks 24th against 23rd against and rushing yards allowed. And you look at the past few weeks, it seems like it's been a really, really critical and almost obvious statement that Seahawks opponents have been doing, just going to the run game constantly. I might even look at carries as well. The Seahawks actually aren't even getting burnt too much in their secondary. They're not getting burnt downfield quite a bit. They're just getting absolutely tired out in the trenches, whether it's been their offensive line, defensive line, they just lose the battle every single week, it seems. And just based on the fact the Eagles haven't really been running the ball too consistently, we're seeing a pretty good number here with Swift. And, taking a look at some of his numbers recently, Andy, the fact of the matter is it hasn't been that consistent, but we've seen carries in double digits. We saw 11 carries, 14, 12, 18, 16, 15. There's only been actually 2 times this year where Swift didn't get double-digit carries. So that one stuck out to me quite a bit, looking at him over on his rushing yards. But potentially, and I think a lot of that obviously has to do with how the game plays out. If the Eagles, get a decent-sized lead, then I think it helps us even more. But we look at it last week. I'm not saying DeAndre Swift is Christian McCaffrey, but you look at when the Seahawks played the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey got his yards in like the first half, and just a lot of opponents going all over the Seahawks team in the running game. So I don't really want to choose a receiver in this game. If I was going to, I potentially look towards maybe a buy low spot on Lockett. I haven't bet on many receivers this year at all for Seattle, but I think his number is pretty low. I think it's like 46.5. Just based on his target share, I think it's just something worth looking at. But that's basically what I've looked at for this game, and also potentially field goal props. If we don't see Geno Smith going, I will be looking at field goal props for the Seattle Seahawks.
Love it. Yeah, I looked at DeAndre Swift. I looked at his under 2.5 receptions for this game. He's gone under in 5 out of 6 games. He actually had 0 last week. And it seems like Kenneth Gainwell is seeming to get more receptions. Kenneth Gainwell in the last few games has had 5 a couple of times. And, the Eagles, it's championship or the season's a little bit of a letdown. And I don't know, when you have Gainwell, why would you put a little bit more wear and tear on DeAndre Swift? That DeAndre Swift is going to be very valuable. You talked about how well he runs inside the trenches. Why give him a bunch of why give him a bunch of receptions when you need him on the ground? So I don't see him being used in the passing game tonight, especially if the Eagles can get out to a lead. They're just going to use him running, and I expect Gainwell to get a little bit more run. I'm with you on Tyler Lockett. I've seen one book had his receptions at 4.5, which I was really hoping to get 3.5, but the books are obviously way ahead on that one. He does seem to be the one that gets a little bit more volume. If Geno does play, I really might look at DK Metcalf over his longest catch. This Eagles secondary, we've talked about all the time about how they struggle, and they're going to throw the ball up for grabs at least 3 or 4 times to DK Metcalf. We know this. And he just needs to come down with one of them. And he's such a monster. And this Philly defense is so suspect in the secondary. I looked at that one. I do like Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. It's gone over in 4 straight. And Seattle gives up 23 completions per game in their last 3. And A.J. Brown's going to be obviously the longer receiving. Like his longest reception is like 25.5, which is crazy. So if you're looking for big chunks of yards, that's A.J. Brown. But Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions looks pretty good. You looked at what they did last week, and I know they got beat by the Cowboys. It was basically Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown. That was about it for who was catching multiple passes. So those are a couple looks I was looking at in this game. So we do have a promo code, guys, that is up for this week. If you're looking at doing a 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, year-long, you can take 20% off any package that you want using the promo code TAKE20, TAKE20, 20% off any package. So if you're interested in 30 days, if you just want some 7 days to get us through the holidays, take advantage of that. WagerTalk.com works on any handicapper. You can use it on myself. You can use it on Andrew McGinnis over at WagerTalk.com. Promo code TAKE20 on checkout, 20% off any of the packages. So that's our Monday Night Football. Andrew and I are going to talk about some NBA and NHL props. It is a prop betting show, and Andrew and I do props in all these different sports. So just because we're a little hesitant and a little cautious on this game, I will also add like for me, I'm in a really good spot. I went 9-3 yesterday in NFL plays. There's absolutely no reason to force a play tonight. I'm perfectly fine with walking away with a profit and saying, bang, that was a very successful NFL week. There's a player that we can look at here in the NBA, Jared Allen. So Evan Mobley is out for Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm looking at Jared Allen props to go over, especially the rebounds. So Mobley was out, and he only had 10 rebounds against Boston, but Boston is just a great defensive team. The next game against Atlanta, Jared Allen goes for 25 points and 14 rebounds. That's more of what I expect from Jared Allen moving forward. And his rebound total is 10.5. And I think they get that number because it's pretty close to his average. He's averaging 8.5 rebounds per game, but that just doesn't tell the story when the other big guy is completely out. So how many rebounds is that worth? So I would absolutely take a look at Jared Allen moving forward. And one of the things that we talk about with these props is when you're doing something like this, play him every game. Don't try and pick your spots. I want to try and play Jared Allen over his next 5 or 6 games if this rebound total is 10.5, because I think he's going to go over 4 or 5 of them. So if I play it tonight and it loses, I'm going to go right back to it because I think we're going to get a better number and a better price. So Jared Allen is a guy that I'm going to look at trying to take advantage of. Andrew, you and I both do NHL props. What has been working I know you've been doing incredible on the totals in NHL. That's sticking with it and saying, you know what, this is exactly what's working. So what's been talk to us about totals and the success you've seen with those.
Yeah, team totals in general have been great for me, Andy. And I actually did a show with Ronald Kabang from WagerTalk, of course, and he's gotten into NHL a little bit. And so we ran some numbers, and only 16% of the time does a team cover the puck line but not score over their team total, which is mostly 3.5 goals. And what's unbelievable about that is obviously with the puck lines in general, you're you think about it, really, you have to win by 2, right? But you're always getting a worse price on the puck line than you are on the team total. It's just the way it is, especially with these massive favorites. But the only real outcome is 2-0, 3-1, 3-0. But a lot of times when teams do cover their puck lines, they're scoring 4, 5, 6 goals. And what I've noticed is a lot of times in general, there's teams like Edmonton. You've got teams even like Pittsburgh, especially a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, where, the regulation bets, I'm done with those because of how many games these days go to overtime. But you've also got certain teams that will score 4 goals for you and still lose the game. And I will tell you, there's no better feeling in the world for betting right now in hockey when I have a team total over for a team and they lose the game but cash your bet. Because it's like almost like, yeah, thanks for helping me, but you screwed yourself. And I really do like that. And sometimes you can just turn, and you don't want to get greedy with it, but you can kind of turn like a minus 130 into a really nice plus price if you're looking at that over 3.5 for the team totals. And it's been about protecting my bankroll this year with the NHL. If I lose a play, I want to be losing a plus money play. I don't want to be losing that risk to win. I want to be just losing a flat unit. And it's really helped me out across the board. When I see an LA Kings game, when I like the Kings, okay, yeah, I think the Kings are going to win tonight. Well, it's too bad. They're minus 160. Okay, well, I'm going to get plus 110 on them to score 4 goals. So I really like that, Andy. And one other thing that I've really kind of been ramping up on my research on, and this is kind of the time of year where I'll start betting it more now that I have some information, is looking at the power play point props. And I've talked about it with you before. But I just really love the difference in the prices that you get. And I know it makes sense because obviously you've got, only a handful of penalties per game in some of the games, and sometimes you get a bunch. But the fact of the matter is the Pittsburgh Penguins played tonight against the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota, they're 7-1 since they fired their coach. They're still playing good hockey, but they're a rough team. It took a lot of penalties, and this Pittsburgh team, they were on an 0 for 36 run with their power play. And Andy, you know how sometimes with player props, and just in general with streaks, once you lose 2, you want to get off the streak, right? Once you see someone win 2 or 3, you want to jump on the streak, right? Some people right now would probably call me crazy for looking at power play point props for the Penguins because of their history. But I don't want to wait until they've had 10 straight games with a good power play for me to hop on, right? And so right now, I'm seeing Sidney Crosby plus 140 for his power play point prop, and Erik Karlsson is at plus 165. Those guys start every single power play. Sometimes they're even double shifted, and you're getting 180 minus 200 on just the regular player point props. And even though in the NHL, it's just, sometimes could be 4 minutes a game, 6 minutes a game on that power play, those change the game entirely. And we've seen it. I mean, Pittsburgh, the record they have, Andy, when they score on the power play versus when they don't, it's very clear how important special teams is in the NHL. So I just want to remind people at home about that. And I will tell you that I will certainly be sprinkling, as Carmine says, some beer and pizza money on that Crosby plus 140 price. It's a really good one, and it really gets you away from the minus 200 on the regular point prop.
This is great because you're talking about plus money props. I'm going to the complete opposite end, and I'm even going to the same players. So you and I talked about this on Puck Time on Friday, and I have been fascinated with how profitable taking the unders are on these guys who they put the line on their points at 1.5. So these guys need to get 2 points to get over. Now, there are some players that get over this total 50% of the time, even 60, 70% of the time. I'm looking at the guys that are around minus 200 to not do it. And I will talk about 2 guys tonight on the same team, Sidney Crosby and Jake Guentzel. Both of these guys, if you just play a single game this season, they have the same record. You would be 23-6 if you would play them under 1.5 goals. And you're saying, well, that's a lot of juice to lay. You would be plus 9 units on each player if you just bet 2 units to win 1. And this goes back to the thing about just playing them every single time. and I've started to do that. We hit 2 client plays on Brad Marchand from the Bruins, and one of the things I looked at with the Bruins is, last year, Andrew, was a historic year for the Bruins, and Marchand, scored a ton of points. But even last year, on that incredible run, he only had 2 points in 22% of the games. Well, the Bruins are not on that pace, and he's not on that pace. And I know it's tough to go in there and go, really, am I going to lay minus 200 on one play? But if you do it night in and night out, and you just kind of believe in the process and you look at the numbers, it makes sense. So you mentioned the Wild are playing good and they give up power play points, but it's just really hard to get 2 points, especially when you got Gensel and Crosby who are on the same team. I mean, you almost need one to pass it to the other and the other to score. You almost need that to happen twice to get there. So it's a theory that I'm going to be sticking with. It's worked recently. I've been tracking it for a while, and the numbers just say, hey, if the price is close to minus 200 and these guys aren't hitting at a big rate, it's absolutely worth it. So those are
I
kind of
like it, Andy.
those are kind of what I've discovered.
I like it, and the thing is, I think that with that kind of prop, there's only a few teams where you got to really look out for. Like, I've got a buddy that is an absolute diehard Maple Leafs fan, like same as Prez, and every night, like, we talk about sports betting together and hockey, and I'll ask him, so what are you on tonight? And if the Leafs are playing, he'll have like, typical same game parlay, Tavares to get a point, Marner to get a point, and Matthews to get a point all together. Okay. He also has Matthews over 1.5 points, Marner over 1.5 points. I'm like, dude, you need like 6 goals and all these players to have like 3 points. But the fact is that when the Leafs have a good game, a lot of times those guys are going, over 1.5 points. Same thing with the Oilers, right? Like, looking at Draisaitl in the playoffs, over 1.5. When you pick on a team like Pittsburgh and certain teams like that, I'm with you, because they just, number one, they're not scoring 4 or 5 goals a game anyway, and they actually have some depth. So I would agree. Like, even looking at teams like Philadelphia that have kind of caught people off guard this year, they're star and top, or, I don't think they even have any star players, but they're doing pretty well. Their top players, they're not going over 1.5 points. Even their top players aren't getting on consistent streaks. But I believe that's why they're having success. And that's what I think is really cool about hockey compared to other sports. Obviously, in NBA, there's only 5 guys on the court, but there are 21 skaters. Like, some players in the NHL, they only play 12 minutes a game. The game is 60 minutes long. So, if especially if, let's say, your team takes a lot of penalties, it takes time away from you being out there on the ice. So I like that quite a bit, Andy. And I will tell you, I wish we could bet shot attempts. Like, we can bet like carries and like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like in the NFL. A lot of people always say in the betting industry, they want to be able to bet on targets. Like, hey, yeah, I know Kadarius Toney dropped 4 balls, but he was targeted 8 times. So can we bet on that?
It's true. It's actually a really, really good point with some of those. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you completely on that one. So, tune into Puck Time, guys, Monday through Friday. Andrew and Carm and the guest of the day break down all the NHL for you. So, they'll go a lot more in detail on certain games and different props. But yeah, I'm going to keep going with those NHL, and with NHL and NBA, I'm not a high volume bettor in those sports, and really, I just want to scrape a couple units per week. I don't need to go all in and have all of these plays every single night. My style of betting is, I'm perfectly fine with just playing a few plays per week, and at the end, hopefully, I'm 4-1 or 3-1 and something like that. We move on to the next week. So guys, please hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us how your weekend went. Tell us if you got any best bets for tonight. And we're certainly going to be looking forward to it next week for the NFL. I've got a couple look ahead spots here for props I hope to see, Andrew. I can't believe I'm saying this, but is Baker Mayfield good? Is he consistent? Because he's got
right now he is
an amazing matchup. Right now he's looking great, and he's got a great matchup next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just continue to absolutely get torched through the air. This is a team that just is decimated with injuries. So I will absolutely be looking towards Baker Mayfield. That's a phrase I did not see. I did not see myself saying that. But they're going to be at home. This Jacksonville team is just they're just making mistake after mistake, and it seems like a really good spot for Baker Mayfield. I'm also going to be looking at the running backs for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're playing the Steelers. The Steelers just look like they've given up. The Colts ran for 5 yards a carry without Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. That's bad. That's the Colts' third and fourth string running backs that just torch the Steelers. And boy, this guy's like a fantasy football legend, one of the best running backs to play the game. But my gosh, does Derrick Henry look old and just bad? That was a really, really rough performance yesterday against the Texans. Derrick Henry, 16 carries for 9 yards, Andrew. That is not.
Well, I had him
done.
written down, Andy, to mention carries. Like, he's a guy, if we're gonna bet him at this point. So it's funny because maybe I'm just trying too hard to still make money off this guy. But I was gonna jump in and say, is he someone that we only look at for carries now? Why even bother with his yards?
It's so true. I mean, you could take his over carries and under yards and probably do pretty well.
That'd be a masterclass.
Really good chance that you could. Yeah. I mean, they're playing at home to the Seahawks, and I can't believe Will Levis walked off the field. I was watching that game live, and the way he got bent back, even the announcers were like, yeah, his leg bent back so weird that we're not even going to show the replay. And I was like, oh, he's out for the year. And it's like, nope, there he is walking off the field. Like, how? So now you got Will Levis that's banged up. So he's going to get carries, but it's probably going to be very predictable. And you're right. This may be another one of these where he averages 1 yard per carry. So that's really interesting. Any other spots that you were looking ahead towards for next week, NFL?
2 plays. Cortland Sutton over again. Continue to look at it, the attention he's getting, target share he's getting, just the amount of times they're looking to him. And the second one was just Rashee Rice. Look, unfortunately, Andy, I'm seeing the board pretty well in the NFL right now, but I'd lost my big play on the weekend, and it was Travis Kelce over on his yards. And I've been someone preaching on this show every Friday. I would come on here and say the Patriots shut down the number one guy and everybody else feasts. And unfortunately, I didn't really practice what I preached with that play because I thought the number was just so low on Kelce. But as we're seeing right now, this Chiefs team, it's a real collective effort. It's not just one guy that's carrying the load. But at the same time, the number for Rice has just not been adjusted too much. And he's somebody I want to look at for yards compared to his catches, just because he can break off for 1 or 2 big ones. He's playing the Raiders, and the Raiders have been such an inconsistent team, but the fact of the matter is they can't trade points. Their defense is so phony, and I believe that he'll continue to run it up, and they'll look towards him. It's been really clear now. Patrick Mahomes is a crybaby and gets frustrated easily, and he's going to start going to the guys that he trusts the most. Did you see the look on his face when Kadarius Toney dropped that ball late in the game? Like you're going to beat the Pats, man. It's all good. Everything's going to be okay. And he's on the bench throwing his helmet because Toney dropped the ball. So I just like what they're seeing with Rice. And how many games now for Travis Kelce without a touchdown? Like 4 or 5? If you could bet someone not to score a touchdown, like I know you like betting that someone not to do something in hockey, Andy. I don't know, but I mean, Travis Kelce, do they go to him this week? Who knows? But either way, the price you're going to get on him is not worth it. So I would stay clear of that one. But Rashee Rice has been pretty consistent these days for the Chiefs.
In defense of Patrick Mahomes, not exactly the first drop for Kadarius Toney this year. I'm just saying, this is not the first time that Mahomes has thrown a really nice ball, and Kadarius Toney has
and hit him in the hands too.
Mollywopped it. He was just right there in the hands. Absolutely. So, I don't think we have much else for NFL, but do want to remind you guys. Tomorrow, really good special going on for $2 Tuesday. Make sure you check out WagerTalk.com. Running another customer appreciation. These customer appreciation days are going great. A great promotion. They're going so well. We're probably running one each week. So tomorrow, come on to WagerTalk.com and check out your favorite handicapper for a really, really nice discounted play of the day. So I don't think we have anything else. Andrew, why don't you tell everyone what can we expect from you and your plays and what shows you're on this week?
Yeah, super low volume lately, Andy, across all sports, actually. But NHL, actually a decent pack of games here today. So I will have 2 props loaded and potentially 1 team total, just waiting for some goaltender information. College basketball, we're continuing to string along with the team totals, focusing in on 1 team, trying to find some differences. So many teams out there in the college basketball world. It's just great to be able to focus in on 1 team. And obviously NFL. So I'm going to be using Customer Appreciation Day tomorrow for an NFL play, Andy. So I look forward to that. And as Andy said, $2 Tuesday for not just one guy, for all of us. So guys, make sure you take advantage.
I will be doing a college football play for $2 Tuesday, 13-4 on the season in college football plays. So, and if you want to use that promo code TAKE20 and get a longer day package, the World Series or the World Championship of Darts started over the weekend. Nice little 8-5 start on that, and plays will be going on for the next couple weeks. Had an incredible weekend in NFL plays, 9-3. We hit our 5% play, so we're seeing those really, really well. Hit our last 2 5% plays in back-to-back weeks. So really happy with how NFL is going and hope to continue that. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it. Please hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Good luck on your plays tonight. Make sure you don't overexpose yourself with too many units tonight. If you're not 100% sure on a play, go ahead and lay off or just make it a pretty small play. Protect those profits and your bankroll. Good luck, everyone. We'll see everyone Friday on Prop It Up.